Masechta Bava basra daf Pei Gimel Amud Aleph is starting from 10 lines from the bottom. Pei Beis Amud Beis. In fact, you want to become Yehei B'neiim by Azdei Ilan. What's the distance between the trees that it should be considered as a Azdei Ilan, as a field of trees, of 3 trees? How much of a distance does it have to be between each tree? And how far could it be? How close could it be?
It has to be 3 trees also.
As 3 trees for sure to be kohen in the karka. So to be kohen in the karka, what is considered Zdei Ilan to say when you have 3 trees? What's the distance between each tree? How close could they be, and how far could they be that it should still be considered as a Zdei Ilan? Rav Yosef Amar, Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel. Rav Yosef said the name of Shmuel. He said, Mei Arba Ames, minimum is 4 Ames. It can be closer. Closer, then we're going to say the tree is going to rot. You're going to have to take it out. It's not considered as if there's a tree if it's too close. Till 8 Ames. 8 Ames. Once it's 8 Ames, then we consider it not as it's individual trees. It's not considered you bought a field with 3 trees. It's too far. So we consider it as individual isolated trees. It has to be within 8 Ames, 4 till 8 Ames, not 8 Ames. It's not a tree. Yeah, it's going to have to be uprooted, right? Like we said before. To 8. Rabbi Amar Rav Nachman, Rabbi said in the name of Rav Nachman, name of Shmuel. Mishmeina from 8 is the minimum. The ad sheish esei ames, not sheish esei. If it's 16 ames, then they're isolated trees. Till ad. Lo yad b'chlal. Amalei Abai Rav Yosef. Lo yitipka later Rav Nachman. Abai said to Rav Yosef, hey, don't argue with Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman is right from 8 ames to 16 ames. The Tnan we learned Masnes and Kavasei. We learned the Mishnah like him. The Tnan that we learned the Mishnah. Anoites karma sheish esei amal sheish esei amal. First of all, I want to tell you, Abaya wasn't telling off Rabbi Yosef. Abaya was the student of Rabbi Yosef. What he was only helping Rabbi Yosef. Rabbi Yosef fell ill, and he forgot the whole Talmud. And at times he would make a mistake. Abaya was only there to help him out, to assist him. Saying, no, listen, Rav Nachman saying from 8 to 6, let's not argue with him. He has a Mishnah backing him up. It's not we learned the Mishnah. Anoiteyes karmoi, somebody who plants a vineyard. Now, by a vineyard, it works like this. When it comes to kalayim, you're not allowed to plant vegetables within an amma of the vines, because then it's kalayim. What's if it's a full kerem, it's a whole kerem, a whole vineyard, then anywhere around the vineyard, you have to stay away 4 ames. 4 ames. Nishtein amma. If it's not a vineyard, we consider it as a single vine, then you can come up to an amma. But if it's a vineyard, anywhere around, it's 4 ames. So he's saying, Anateyes kamoi, now we're talking about a full vineyard. Sheishes ames al sheishes ames, 16 on 16 ames. So he says, Butla havi zerasham. You could, once it's 16, so it's so far apart from one shudder to the other. So it's individual. It's not a kerem.
What is apart?
The shudders of the vines. They're so separate. Look at the bottom of the picture you have on the bottom. Here you'll see a picture how far they are. It's 16 amas away each one. He has a whole bunch of rows that are 16 amas away. So, what's a vine? The minimum of a vine, you remember we learned? It has to be 5. 2 with a tail. You remember? 2 with a tail. Okay. No, you were there. It was actually, we were talking about it. Anyway, I remember Fred was talking about it. I thought you remember right away. Anyway, so he says 16 amas between each one. So he says, if it's 16 amas, you can plant seeds as long as you're not within an amma. You can plant seeds between them. And it's not considered this is a vineyard and you're not allowed to, you have to go 4 amas away. It's not a vineyard. 16 amas away from each shudder. It's isolated rows. It has nothing to do with the vineyard. It's not a vineyard. There was a story that was in Salmon, that's the name of a place. Somebody who planted 16 on 16 amas. Here you have a picture. Look. What would he do? He would have the branches of the vines, because the branches of the vines cover. You go from the branches, it's going to be less than it's going to be less than 16 amas. So he had them face each other, and then this is in Shura 1 and 2. 1 and 2 are facing each other.
Okay.
Then you have another shatach of 16 amas. So the third Shura, he didn't make it face this way, the branch, he made it face this way, and Shura Dal, he made face this way. So now, here there's nothing bending over this shatach. So over here he could plow the whole shatach. And here also he did, by Gimel and Dalit, he made Dalit face this way, Gimel face this way, and then, and this one the opposite way. So you have another whole shatach that you could plow. Because it was 16 amas. It's not a problem. The next year he did the reverse. So what did he do the next year? He made whatever is facing this way. He did the opposite. He made it face this way. He made it face this way. This one he made face this way. So here he plowed. Why did he change over every year? Because to plow on the same karka every year, it weakens the land. So he alternated every year. So he shouldn't pound on the land. The land should be able to recuperate. And he would be Zarei Zayim in that shatach, in the shaded area, like you see in the picture over here. And he came before this story came before the Chacham. And the Chacham says, it's not a problem, it's a lot of plow. It doesn't have to go 4 amas away, because this is not a vineyard. It's 16 amas away, each shura. So 16 amas, it's isolated shuris, so it's not a kerem. So you have a raya that 16 up to 16 amas is going to be a kerem, but 16 amas not. Amalei, Rav Yosef said to Abaya, "Ana lo yadayna." Rav Yosef said to Abaya, "I don't know." Meaning, I hold that the Allah is not like that Mishnah. El Uv Dahava, he says Vedurav Dahava. So there was a story in the city where there were a whole bunch of shepherds. They came before Rabbi Yehuda. And they said to Rabbi Yehuda said to the seller, Zil have lay, go give the buyer of the karka between the ilones, kimeloi bakar v'chelav. The amount of space that is needed for a pair of oxen, and the kli machrisha, the kli to the aker tool, the plowing tool with it, that should have enough space. But he didn't know kimeloi bakar v'chelav kama. How much is that space that you need for a pair of oxen with a macharisha? Kivan nishmait ladetam. But once he had heard this Mishnah, lo yita adam ilan samach l'sadeh chaveirei, a person shouldn't plant a tree right by the border of his friend. Why shouldn't he do it? That's it. Because he's going to have to plow around the tree. So don't put the tree by the border, because when you're going to plow and you're going to want to go around the tree, you're going to be going your friend's karka. So distant the tree 4 amas, so you can come and plow on the other side of the tree, and you don't go into your friend's field. So you see, 4 amas is the amount that you need for oxen and a clean machrisha. V'tani Allah, and we learned 4 amas we said, what was the reason that he chose the shear 4 amas? Pashit, the pair of oxen and machrisha to go through and to be able to acker around the field, to plow around the field. It doesn't matter. Eila and Akenim the same amount. Amina, so I said, so I have a raya. That's 4 amas, not 8 amas, like Rav Nachman says. Good. So nevertheless, we're still concluded that the
trees within 4 amas is considered a kenem, right? 3 trees within 4.
Yes, it's still considered as a kenem. You don't need 8 amas. Says the Gemara, but nevertheless, what do we say? We paskin like Rav Nachman because of a Mishnah. Says the Gemara, Rav Yosef not. Do we not learn like Rav Yosef? Where do we see Rav Meir? We learned the Mishnah. Rav Meir, but Rav Shimon Neimim, Rav Meir and Rav Shimon say, somebody who plants a vineyard, which is 8 amas on 8 amas. That's 8 amas apart. He's allowed to bring seeds into it. He doesn't have to distance himself 4 amas. Why? Obviously, this Mishnah holds that up to 8 amas is a kerem. But 8 amas, if there's a separation of 8 amas, it's isolated vines. It's isolated trees. So it's not as they kerem. It's not as they Elon. And that's why he said by the Kerem, you're allowed to bring in Zeran. You don't have to, you're allowed to bring in seeds.
You're
And
not
you're
afraid
not, you're not afraid about Kalaim, even though by a Kerem,
So that was
if
like
it's a Kerem, you need to be 4 Amos away. That comes out, no, this comes out like Rabbi Yosef. So he said, you're saying Rabbi Yosef doesn't have a Mishnah, we have a Mishnah like Rabbi Yosef also. You said, Rabbi Yosef said Shmeina, exactly. Here it's Shmeina. But once it's Shmeina, it's no good. Until 16. 16. So the problem is, you said to Rabbi Yosef, don't, you better say like Rav Nachman because he has a Mishnah. He has a Mishnah too. Nevertheless, Maisa Adif. Rav Nachman has it also with a story. You remember with the story that he brought down Amar Rabbi Yehuda Maisa B'Tzalmon? We just had the story. B'Tzalmon Be'echot. So there you saw B'Feidish that the Maisa B'Tzalmon, when somebody was Sheish Yasei, Al Shesh Yasei Amma, and he allowed to plow because it was 16 Amas. But if it would have been less than 16 Amas, he wouldn't have allowed it. So you see it, you like, so you see like Rav Nachman, because he has a story backing it up, that's stronger. So like Yomar Bishlam, Rabbi Yosef, it's understood according to Rabbi Yosef, the shear of the distance between one tree and another is from 4 Amas to 8 Amas. I leave the Rabbi Shimon. So according to Rabbi Shimon, Shamina Lei Mufuzan, we heard, he said it befeidish. Mufuzan means to spread out, this distance between these trees, 8 Amas. Shamina Lei Sufin, we also learned in the Mishnah how much could it be condensed, how close could it be. We learned that it is up to 4 Amas. That we learned. Zakimar Mefuzarim. The sheet of Reb Shimon Legabin and his Mefuzaris Hadamarim. This that we said in the Mishnah Kalayim. Reb Shimon says that if the shus kifanim are more or distance 8 Amas, you're allowed to plant seeds between them. That's what Reb Shimon said. Over here, maybe Reb Shimon said that. Ritzufim. But Benegaya to being condensed, how close could they be together? Where do we see that? So he says that now we learned in the Mishnah Kalayim. Keren Hanatua al Pachas Me'aba Ames, a vineyard that was planted on less than 4 Ames, Einoi Keren. Rabbi Shimon. So you see, Rabbi Shimon says Befeidish, something that's less than 4 Ames, the trees, if it's less than 4 Ames, it's not considered as a Sdeilah. Why? Because you're going to have to uproot the tree. It's not considered as a tree if it's within 4 Amas. Rabbi Shimon. It is considered as a vineyard. It is considered as a zdeilam. If the trees, let's say, is 3 Amas apart from each tree.
Not 4, 3 Amas.
It's 3 Amas. So from one tree to the second tree is 3 Amas, then to the third tree is 3 Amas. He has a couple of trees. So we say, it's that tree that's within the 3 Amas is as if it's not there. So there's 6 Amas, and you do 6 Amas, and since and there's more than 3 trees, and it's considered as uprooted, then it's a kerem. Because officially you could say all of them have to be uprooted; they're all weakening the other. Says no. You take the one that's in between. That's as if it's not there, and you have 6 Amas. That's according to Chacham. According to Reb Shimon, no. It's all fashvecht, it's all like uprooted, it's no good.
It has more than 4 Amas then, if it's that way.
It's 6 Amas, yes.
6 is more than 4.
Right, yeah. That's fine, up to 8 Amas. Sagt die Gemara Eller Rav Nachman, but according to Rav Nachman, that he says the distance between the trees is 8 Amas. So I'll leave it Rabbanan, according to the Shita of Chachamim, by the Mishnah of Kalayim, the Tanakama and the Chachamim, that they paskin by the story of Tzalmain. That Rabbi Yehuda brought, the Rabbi Shimon that said that you're allowed to plant between the Shudas HaKfanim if there's 16. So Mefuzarim, how far it has to be, Shamin and Leib, we heard. It says Befeidish that there was 16 Amas, and that's why in the story of Salmain they allowed to plow and plant seeds over there. Right, it was isolated. 16 Amas makes it ois kerem. It's isolated up to 16 Amas. It's not. It is a kerem. But here we're talking about it was 16 Amas in the mice of Tzalman. That's why he allowed it. So the distance we learned about from the story of Tzalman. But it's where do we hear about how condensed could it be? How do we know Rav Nachman is? How close could it be? Where do we learn that Rav Nachman says Shmeina Amas? It's like it's a svara. How? From Rab Shimon's Shita, you said, what's the furthest distance? 8 amas. But you said what was the closest? The distance
16, no?
up to 8 amas. Reb Shimon, not Rav Nachman. Reb Shimon. What did Reb Shimon say? Or Reb Yosef say? Reb Meir and Reb Shimon, Reb Yosef. Okay. What did they say? Up to 8 amas. But what did they say? How close? Half. 4. So just like it's there, 8 was the furthest distance and half is the closest. So that is so by the Rabbanan, we're going to say up to 16, and what's how close? Half 8. It's from 4 amas till 16. You don't have to use that formula. That's Nishtamas. He says that we don't have any proof that that's what he holds. So just right. It's not monkey see, monkey do. It's monkey see, monkey do. Monkey say to the zelbazach. It's not. He says we don't have proof, and 4 amas makes sense. He says, but again, the tis proof is the halacha. It's like we found in the story of the Rausa. You remember the story with the city of the shepherds? So we said they came before Rav. So Rav said you have to give him the space, the closest it could be is Kimeloi, Bakar, Vikelav, 4 amas. And we brought it out, that's 4 amas. So that's what we have an eye, that's where it should be 4 amas. And up to 16, like we had the story in Salmai. So the Gemara Tanka say the Rav, and we looked in the Brisa exactly like Rav said. 4 amas is the closest it could be, and up to 16 amas. How close could they be in order to be still considered Zdei Ilan? 4 amas. What's the furthest distance it could be? Up to 16 amas. So if it's within 4 to 16, it's a Zdei Ilan. And as the Ilan is kind of the karka. So Ilan is Shabinayim, and he also can be kind of these small little plants that are between the trees, even though it's in between the 2 trees that are 4 amas. He's kind of those trees. It's little trees. Young, very young trees. It's kind of because it's not weakening the ground. It's just planted. So he says those Ilanis haktanim Shabinayim. He's kind of lafikach, and therefore even more so Yavashay Ilan. If this tree that's there, but it's a 3, and it dries up, and it's in the, he bought 3 trees together, or the tree was cut off, yes, like kaka, he owns the kaka, and he could replant a new tree in that space.
Because
He bought the trees with the kaka, it was a steila. Pachas become, but what's if it was less than Dalet amas between the 2 big trees? Or yes, okay, or it was more than 16 amas. Or he bought it one at a time. He bought it not together. He was not going to. It's not his de'ilah. It was not kind of the karka. It was not kind of the trees, the little trees between them. And therefore the ilan dried up and Niksaso got cut off. He doesn't have the karka. He's not allowed to replant in that area another tree. Right. When he measures the distance between the Hilones to see if there's a minimum of 4 amas or more than 16 amas, does he only measure from the trunk where it's narrow or from the bottom where it's a grub? Okay, because the trunk is older than the bottom one is older than on top, so it's thinner. Yeah, so he says, so what? Which way? Or from the bottom was a good grub. Yeah. So if he measures from the bottom of the grub, so
could be 8, 9.
It's so it has to be minimum 4 from the bottom or minimum 4 from the top. Or from the middle, I'm a lady.
No, if he goes for the top, he gets more kaka.
He gets, even though the bottom is closer, but as long as on the top, on the top, the bottom it's narrower, the top it's wider. On the bottom, the trunks are very thick. So if you would measure, it would be 3 amas. But as you go up higher, it gets thinner and thinner, the 2 trees. So it will be wider. So he says, come and I'll answer you. The Tanakh we learned in the Mishnah, the grafting that they do from a new tree into the old tree, they don't stop measuring. From where do they start measuring? The distance between the kefanim, from the second knot, from the middle. It's like from the middle. He brings mahapkak hasheni shebegezer, from the second knot. The second, I don't know what they call that. Second knot in the trunk. It's hard pieces. So there's one on the bottom and two, and so for the middle one, which is the Beinani, not from the bottom, but from the middle. That's where you measure from. But Yibya asked the question: what's if he sold them from one tree 3 branches, but the 3 branches he grafted into the ground. And he puts the soil on top of it, and it was like 3 trees, and it was each branch was distant from the other 4 amas from the same tree. Oh, but 1 second. But he sold it to him as 3 trees because it was under the ground. It was grafted under the ground.
I didn't know that was comes from
Okay, but it rooted itself. He says he saw it as 3 different trees, and there were 4 amas between it, and each one had its own roots. Mo, what's the deal? Because it took time. It roots in the ground. You graft it, and it grows its own roots in the ground. Oh yeah. That's what he says. Mo, what's the deal? Do we look after, since it's coming from the one tree, so it's not 3 trees, or we say
the 3 branches was already abgehakt from the first.
No, at least that's the chiddush. It's abgehakt alle halten, but it wasn't. It was still connected. It was grafted, but
So where was it getting the sustenance?
from the ground, and maybe
Not-
from
not-
the tree.
not-
Oh,
not
that's
from
the
the mother.
shaila.
Not from the mother
But he
tree.
says it's already rooted in the ground. Since they rooted into the ground, we should look at it as 3 separate ilanes, or since it's still connected to a tree, it's 1 ilan. Rav Giviyah from the city of Kosel said to Rav Ashi, Toshma, come in here, and I'll answer you. That's now we learned in the Mishnah. Hamavrich shalish gifonim. Somebody takes 3 gifonim, 3 vines. Until now we're talking about a ilan. Now we're talking about vines. He takes 3 vines and he puts them into the ground. And you could tell that that it's a new. It was first newly rooted in the ground. You could tell that it was grafted into the ground. Mitzdarfin. We are mitzdarfin to 3 trees, and we make it, and it's for a vine. You need 5. You need 5. But
It should be 16, no?
no, we're talking about the shita of Rabbi Yosef, right? So Rabbi Lezer was the student of Rabbi Yosef. So he said, Rabbi Lezer Rabbi Tzaddik, he said, so you have 5. You took 3, you put it into the ground, right? The other 3 is from the connected to the tree. If you cut it, you'll have 6. Really, you need 5 just. But there's so mitzdarfin. He says you can be mitzdarfin even though it's still connected. You can be mitzdarfin it as one as part of the kerem, as if there's 6 vines, and the shear between them has the right shear from 4 to 8 ames. So it's combined. So it's a kerem. But if the distance between the shuris is not a 4 ames, or it's more than 8 ames, ain't mitzdarfim. Then we cannot combine it to make it a kerem.
It becomes 6, because from each geffen he's mavrich, right?
He's mavrich. So each one, if you cut
There's
it,
3 vines.
there's 3. It's 3 and 3. It's like tzitzis.
3, and he
You
makes
put it. It's
two.
folded in 2.
Each geffen, he says he's vine, he makes another one.
He made another one. He put it in the ground. So you have.
That's how you
Yeah, it's like tzitzis. You put it in the
It wasn't
tzitzis.
only for one vine.
No, he took 1 vine. He took 3 vines and he put it into the ground. Each vine is 2, because he put 1 and 1 is on this side of the tzitzis. Let's say 1 is on this side. He folded it. If you fold
He
it,
had 3 vines, so he was mavrich.
shalish gifanim, and he put. He was mavrich shalish gifanim. It became vav. He had 3. He took 3, and he doubled it up because he put it in the ground and now grew up from the other side. So it's double, so it's 6. Okay, that's it, simple. All you need is 5, so it's a kedem. But as long as the distance is from 4 to 8
Cannon
amas.
has to have 5?
A 5, yeah, I said that.
Cannon is with 5.
Two and a tail, I told you. You don't want to listen to me, but okay, it's fine. Okay, so the mother in love ain't mitzvah, but if it doesn't have from 4 to 8 amas, it's not combined. But you're a puppet, the effect hashayla. Macha lo ishnayim b'seich sadeyu ve'echad al hamitzah. Here's a new shayla. He sold him. He has 2 trees in his field, mamish. Then there's a boundary around the field. So there was a tree growing on the boundary. Sometimes the boundary is higher, sometimes it's lower. And he was mitzvah with these 3. Could he be mitzvah it to call it a snei ilan?
But how far are the other ones?
No, they're within the 4 amas, but it's on the border. It's his, but it's on the border. It's like maybe it's not considered as part of the same field. It's not on the same field. It's on the border. Are we mitzvah of it to make it into a snei ilan if it's within the 4 to 8 amas? Or maybe the ilan on the Meitzah is not mitzvah with the other one because it's standing in a separate area. How about Shnayim b'sei shalai b'yachad b'sei shalai b'yirei? Let's say the Moicha had 2 trees that was in his field, and he went to his friend and he says, "I want to buy your tree." He buys the tree which is next to his 2 trees, and now he wants to sell it to somebody else as 3 trees. Could it be mitzvah that he should be owning the karka beinayim or not? Because one of the trees are not from his field. Your mother take Tish will answer these questions. Boy Ravashi. Ravashi is the Shaila Boy.
The truth is, if it is his, what's the difference?
The tree he bought in somebody else's field. It's not his karka. He bought in somebody else's karka. Boy Ravashi. Ravashi Gefekta Shaila. Boy. A bird that's found between the trees, Mao Shatafsik, shouldn't have a din that it can make a hefsik between the 2 trees. You need 4 amas of karka, and here you have a bird. And even if you're going to say it's not a hefsik because you don't see the water from afar, so maybe it won't be hefsik. Okay, but right now it's water, even though you don't see it. No, it's with water, but you don't see it, he says. So maybe it won't be a hefsek. How about amasamayim? It's a stream of water that's going through you. Everybody sees the mao shetafsik. Should it be considered as a hefsek? And if you're going to say amasamayim, it's not so much space that it's taking. So yeah. So he says, how about the Shusarab Mal? If it was 4, here he doesn't mean a Shusarab of 16 amas. It means a Shusarab that people could walk in that path of 4 amas. It's a pathway of 4 amas. Mal, is that considered as a hefsek? And let's say it's not such a hefsek. People walk through, but you could also go between the trees. How about Richba de Dikri? If he put up a whole bunch of date trees between the 2 trees like a wall. So his mamish hefsek as if you have between the 2 trees. Mal, what's going to be the din? So you want to take it. Okay. Boy b'nei. Hillel and Rabbi. Hillel had asked a shayla from Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi. Allah eretz. Here he says Hillel Azakin. Here I'll read. I saw that before. Hillel. No, I'm sorry. He's not. Eina Hillel Azakin. Shakai kama deres lifnei Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi. It's not Hillel Azakin. Forget. It's not Hillel Azakin because Hillel Azakin lived many years before Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi. And here we're talking about that. He's asking. Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi was the 6th generation to Hillel Azakin. So anyway, he says over here, what happened over here? Hillel is from Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi. This is a different Hillel. Allah eres beinayim. If there was a cedar tree that was between the 2, there's 3 trees. Between the 2 of the trees, there was a cedar tree. So Mao, is it considered as a hefsek? Meaning, not just a hefsek, that it shouldn't be a zdei ilan, and he shouldn't be kaina the eres either. We should say it's not a zdei ilan, it's not kaina the karka, because he has a cedar tree between the 2 trees. So
what kind of trees it are? You have to have at least 4 or 8.
But we say if it's within 3 amas, it's damaging to the karka, and you're going to have to rip out one of the trees. So here was a cedar tree in between them.
So this is more than 3.
There was 4
There's 4 trees now. Between the trees, let's say it was within 3 amas. The errors was within 3 amas of each tree. So if you take out the tree, 6 amas, let's say, between the 2 trees, and there was errors in between. Allah, effective mother, what are you talking about? That the errors was there at the time of the mechira? So he bought it together with the Eretz tree. What's the shy? They bought 3 trees with the Eretz tree. So you want to know,
So he gets car.
he gets it for sure. So he says, the keich is kind of the cock with the ilanis. He says, I'm sorry, Ola, I said it wrong. Ola, if it grew later, he bought 3 trees and then the cedar tree came in. So he was first kind of the cock and then the Eretz tree came in. Of course he's kind of the Eretz.
The cock is his?
Because the cock was his and the Eretz grew later. Yeah, but Shus the day nothing. It grew in his Shus. Ella, what are you going to say? That lechatchila, there was an Eretz standing between the tree at the time of Mechira. Mao, what's going to be the din? Amalei kana bekana. Surely he was kind of the lekech was kind of the ilanis together with the karka, and the Eretz is not considered as a hefsek between the 2 trees. He says it's not. It doesn't withhold any growth. I don't know why, but he says.
You say you always need a space
because it's too close.
Right now you don't have 4 or 8.
So he feels that Eretz tree doesn't take away from the ground, so we can, Sagt die Gemara, Ketzad heim imdim. How's the case? Ketzad heim imdim. In which way were the 3 ilanis? When you say 3 ilanis, it's considered as a stay ilan. Was it in a row or like a segel? 1, 2, and 3. Sagt die Gemara. Rav says the 3 trees, when you say it's considered as the Ilan, were standing in a row. Like a segel. 1, 2, and 3. So the Yama Kshuda. Rav, who says it's in one row, that you still give him he's kind of the kaka kosher chatzuba. How much more so by chatzuba? Because chatzuba is very hard to go with a plow between the 2 trees. So you have to give them more land around to be able to go around it.
When it was a segel.
When it's a segel, because it's like the tree is in the middle, it's in its way.
This is the one
Straight, and you have space so you can go around. You have more space. And the one that says he gets a kaka by chatzuba, by a segel, but if it's standing in a straight row, he shouldn't get the kaka because he doesn't need it. My time, because the place between the trees and the shura, there's enough space to go and plant. There's enough room for it. The mizdar, that there's enough place to plow between the trees. So you want to ask Rav Amnun asked the question. According to the one that says that the 3 trees are set up like a segel, my time the lane is not a mitzvah. What's the reason that you cannot? My time. What's the reason? By Meshulish, he's kind of the buy is kind of the karka because the lane is not a mentaya because there's no room to be able. It's not easy to plow between it. When it's a segel, that's why he gets the land. By a person who sold 3 thorn bushes, so he should be able to get karka. He should be owning the karka in that area. The loim is not in time because he's unable to plow between it because it's harmful. It says because of the thorns. He says machmas kutzin nimna adam mimelalach. Yeah, so he can. So let's get Hakanami Desh like Kaka. Or in such a case, you're going to give him Kaka when he has 3 thorn bushes, where it's very hard to go through. L'cheira, that's not true. We know it's not true. Amalah, so the Shmuel will answer you. Hanach loichshivi, hanach chashivi. So it means that it has to. For stay Elon, you need 2 conditions. Number 1, you need that the Elone should be chashubim in order that it should be combined to make it into of Zdei Elon. And number 2, it has to be standing in a way that if it's a segel and you can't get between them, that's the only time that we're going to have to give them space around the trees.
Every time that you sell a row of trees, he's not kind of less one.
He's not kind of the karka because he's able to go between the trees unless it's set up like a segel.
Unless he tells them I'm selling.
Unless he sets it up like a segel. Somebody who sells the head of a behema gasa, we don't say he sold the feet because the feet is a chashuv. It's not secondary to the head. It's a chashuv.
You can make out of it.
Yeah.
Are we talking about butchers now?
Yeah. He didn't sell So he didn't sell the feet with it because the
When did he
feet
sell
is not.
the Rosh Hashanah when he was alive or dead?
It was dead. Okay. If he sold the feet, he didn't sell the head because the head is not a secondary thing to the raglayim. They're both a davar chashuv. Machas hakana. If he sold the lungs, loy machas hakavod, he didn't automatically sell the liver. Because right, it's not secondary to one. One is not a tuffle to the other. Machas hakavod, loy machas hakana. If he sold the liver, he didn't sell the lungs. Aval bedaka babai behemedaka like kvasim shepselach and goats. Machas harish, machas haraglayim. If he sold the head, then the raglayim goes together because it's not a davar chashuv. It's secondary. It's tuffle. Machas haraglayim loy machas harish. But if he sold the feet, he didn't sell the head. The head is much more chashuv than the raglayim. Machas hakana. If he sold the lungs, machas hakavod, because the kavod is a tuffle to the kana. It's connected. The liver is connected to the lungs. It's small. Machas hakavod le machas hakana. But if he sold the liver, he didn't sell the lungs. The lungs is more chashuv than the liver. Abba midas b'meichen. There are four midas dinim, four different dinim when it comes to selling items. Machaloi chitim yafis. If the person sold him becheskas, this is good teschera. V'nim tzurais, and we find that as shmatis, the gomish. Alakeach yochal lazabay. In such a case, at the meizgenart. So he lakeach. Tznish kemekach tois. No, because he sold him chitim. He told him, I'm selling you good chitim, and it was bad chitim. So you have to see if it was over shtus, if he cheated him over a sixth, then the lokeach has the right to back out, or he could say, give me back my money, but I want to keep the chitim. He could do it. The lokeach has the upper hand, because he cheated the lokeach.
He doesn't have to give it back.
He doesn't have to give it back. He can demand money back from the meicha. Yafis. I'm sorry, rois v'nimtzu yafis. What's if he officially sold him bad, and we find that it's good? The meicha can say, hey, this is a mistake. I gave you the price of rois, and by mistake I sold you yafis. So the meicha could tell him, I want to back my money. Rois v'nimtzu rois, yafis v'nimtzu yafis. If it was bad and it was bad, he sold them bad and he found it bad or good, and he found it was good. Neither can back out. What's the chiddush? Rois and nimtzu rois. Like Keich says, when I was buying rois, I didn't mean rois. I meant his rois. When I thought rois, I meant it's good stuff. I just want to tell him it's bad. He should give me at a good price. Was that to me giving the rois? You got what you deserve. Yeah, Yafis. So he said, the Meicha says, I wasn't planning on selling him Yafis. I was planning to make a killing on this, a few dollars, and it was Taka Yafis. He can't back out. Neither of them can back out. Whatever you said, that's what goes. So here's going to be like backup days because Chamtis. He told him he's selling him red lentils, Venimtzis, Levana, or wheat, red wheat, and he find the white. It could be even more expensive, but he didn't want. Some people want white rice and want some brown rice. But they don't care about the price. Levana Venimtzis, Shehimtach, or he said, I want white vates, and he gave him red vates. Eitzim shel zayis, Venimtzis shel sycamore. He wanted wood for olive wood, and he gave him sycamore wood. Or shel sycamore, Venimtzis shel zayis, so he gave him sycamore, and he gave him the opposite. Yaim and chemetz. He told him, I want, sell me wine. He gave him vinegar. Chemetz, vinegar, and he found wine. Shneim yechim last, but both of them to back out because that's a mekach place. It's not what he promised to give him. It's the opposite.